Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this video, we will discuss on LeetCode problem number 165, which is compare version numbers, right? So, in this problem, we have given two version strings, version 1 and version 2, and then each version string consists of revisions which are separated by dots. So, like this, 1.2, 1 is one revision, point 2 is like 2 is another revision, right? So it's like a main version and then subversion like this, right? The value of the revision is its integer, ignoring leading zeros. So what does it mean? That the revision value is its integer value. So for example here, right here we have 0, 1. So we need to ignore the leading zeros and its value will be 1, right? Similarly, here as well, it has two leading zeros. So we need to ignore these, right? So it also has the value as 1 only, equivalent value is 1 only. Now to compare the version strings, compare their revision value in left to right order. Okay. If one of the version strings has fewer revisions, treat the missing revision value as 0. So we need to go from left to right and we need to keep comparing the revisions, right? And then we need to return this following value, that if version 1 is less than version 2, then we will return -1. If version 1 is greater than version 2, then we will return 1. Else if it is equal, then we will return 0. So let's understand the example like how we are comparing here all these versions, right? So let's go to example 1. So we have version 1 as 1.2 and version 2 as 1.10. So comparing the version means comparing its revision, right? So we first compare the revision 1. What is the revision 1 here? This, right? So 1, and what we have in version 2, it is also 1. So it's equal, right? Hence, we will go to next revision. Now, remember, if this particular main version, right? Let's suppose here we will have 2, right? So 2 and 1. So can we say that the version 1 is greater than version 2? Yes, right? Because the main version is greater. So we don't need to go to the sub revisions now. If it is 2, if the version 1 here, the revision 1 was 2, then we can say that okay, revision this maximum version is greater in version 1. That means version 1 is greater, right? So we just simply return 1 there, right? But now in our case, it is equal, right? 1 and 1. So we will go to the next revision. So we will go to revision 2. Now here we have 2 and 1, 0, right? Now in this case, the revision of 2, right? The revision 2 of version 2 is greater than revision 2 of version 1, right? So we return -1 because this value is satisfied that version 2 is greater than version 1. This means that version 2 is greater than version 1. Okay, let's understand another example to get this more. So we have in example number 2 this, right? So here again same process, we will go first on revision 1. So revision 1 here we have as 1 and 1, and then revision 2 as 0, 1 and 0, 0, 1. 1 and 1 are equal, so we just move forward with Next revision here we have 0, 1 and 0, 2, which is equivalent to 1 and 1 since we are removing the leading 0. So here we can say here it is also equal. Now end of string, right? We come off end of the string, right? We treat all the revisions and all the revisions are equal here. Hence we return 0. We are into the end of a string, that means version 1 is equals to version 2. We don't find any revisions where either version 1 is greater than version 2 or version 2 is greater than version 1, right? That's why we are into the end of the strings, and hence we can say that the version 1 and version 2 is equal, and we just simply return 0 here. Similarly, let's go to the next example. Let me just make this as example 2. Example 1, and this is example 3. Okay, now here let's suppose what we have in revision 1 and 1 equal, right? Now we will go to next revision 2. So here we have 0 and 0 equal. Now we go to revision 3. Now here we need to notice one thing, that we are end of this particular version, right? But we still have some versions in this, right? So we have been said that if one of the version string has fewer version revisions, treat the missing revision value as 0. So here the revision 3 is missing, so we will treat it as 0, right? And here we have 0 only. Okay, let me just add this in bracket. So this is also, we can say that it's equal only. Now again we go to revision 4. Revision 4, again we treat it as 0, and this is also 0. So this is also equal. Now we are end of the string for both. This we are already completed, and here also we are completed now. So since we are at the end of the strings, end of loop, so we can say that version 1 is equals to version 2. Hence we return here 0. Okay, now let's just go through another case as well. So where we will have the version like this. Okay, so same process we will keep do till revision 3. Okay, now at the revision 4, we will have this as 0, but here we will have 1, right? So now with this we can say that version 2 is greater than version 1, because revision of 4 is greater than revision 4 of version 2 is greater than revision 4 of version 1. Hence we can say that version 2 is greater than version 1, and here we return again -1, right? If you want to go the next example, like the another one possible case is this, like we have uh, 0.0, 0.2. So here the revision 4 will be 2. So here the version 1 is greater than version 2. So we will return 1 here. Here we have all the zeros, so we will not treat anything, right? So that's how we will need to solve this. So what we will need to do, we will need to go each revision, compare if equal if version revision of revision 1 is greater than, like, revision of version 1 is greater than revision of version 2, then return 1, right? Like here, if revision of version 2 is greater than revision of version 1, then return -1, like here. Else, if the revisions are equal, then we will go to next revision. If all the revisions are equal, that means we are end of the loop. In that case, we will return 0. Simple logic. The same logic we need to do in code now. Okay, so let's go how we will do this via code. So first, I will create two variables which will store their sizes. Okay, right? And I will have two pointers. One we will point to this is one we will point keep iterating on version 1. Another one will keep iterating on version 2. Also, I will have two integer variable which will store the revision value of 1 and 2. So don't get confused with this revision 1 as this revision only, or maybe I will just do like this. I will not give it any number, but I need to. So revision 1 and then revision 2. Okay, it will just store the each revisions it values, right? Now what we need to do, I need to keep iterating the strings until both the strings are not completed, right? So I is less than n or j is less than m, right? What we will do, we will first calculate the revision values of both the of first version 1 and then version 2. So how can we calculate that? We will keep iterating the version 1 characters. So while I is less than n, and we will keep iterating the characters until we don't find dot symbol. Okay, what we will do, we will just simply increase this integer value. So revision 1 will be equals to revision 1 into 10 integer value, right? Plus, okay, and then we will keep increment I here. Similar process we will do for calculating the revision 2. So while here j is less than m and version 2 is less, not not less than, not equals to, dot, we will have this as revision 2 is equals to revision 2 into 10 plus version 2 value, right? And here we will increment j. Now what we will do, we will compare, right? So first this one, if version 1 is less than version 2, so here we will check if revision 1 is less than revision 2. If it is, then we will just simply return -1. Again we will check if revision 1 is greater than revision 2. If it is, then we will return 1. If both the revisions are equal, both the current revisions are equal, then we will do the same process for next revision. So I will just have the comment as do the same process for next revision. So for next revision, we first set this revision 1 as 0, revision 2 as well 0, and remember I is at this dot character. So we will just increment I as well, and j is also at the either the end of the string or is that dot character, right? So we will increment GK as well. Now you might be thinking that what will happen if let's suppose I is end of the string, but we are still iterating J. So you see here, right, that we have redefine the revision 1 as 0. So now let's suppose I is completed. So we will not going to execute this while loop, right? Only this while loop will get execute. And here the revision 1 will be 0 only. That's what we have been asked, right? That if the treat missing revision value was 0. So it will work that only. Okay, now let's suppose we treat both the versions, right? And we are end of this loop. That means if we don't find any comparison, any revisions where revision 1 is less than revision 2 or revision 1 is greater than revision 2, then we will simply return 0 here, right? Let's try to run the test cases. Okay, it's passed. Now let's try to submit this code. Cool, it's accepted. Let's understand again time and space complexity as well here. Okay, so what we are doing here, we are just iterating all the characters of version 1, right? So this will take off and right, where n is the limit of version 1, and this will take off and where m is the limit of version 2, size of version 2. That's all, right? So here time complexity will be O of n plus m. What about space complexity? We just have defined this constant variables I and j and the revision 1 and revision 2, which is storing the integer values. So space complexity is O of 1 only. We don't explicitly use any kind of array or some another data structures here, right? So that's how we solve this problem. I hope you understand this. Please do code by yourself after watching this video. And if you like my video, please do like, share, and subscribe.